you've taught us all something as leaders, that it's important for us to make the expectations really, really clear. And when we do that, it's an invitation for people to join that. And then they can choose if it's a good fit for them or not, which makes it amicable at the end. You're giving them that choice, that opportunity to step up.
Yes.
Okay, so Cameron, great first kind of learning for us on how to lead change and how to do that effectively, and the right kind of motions to take in that. Any other particular learnings along the way for you as a leader?
I think one thing that I have recently learned, and I found myself plateauing in my career because of this. I think partly I had a limited tenure when I sort of came across here to the US, and partly because I was sort of this isolated retailer, had a VP title, but kind of trying to do everything. As my tenure got extended and my responsibilities expanded, I did find myself in a position I hadn't been in before, where I was really starting to struggle, to be honest. And what I mean by that is not adjusting to the additional responsibilities and leading at a new level. And I throw on top of that a global pandemic, which sort of spun everything out of control. I did find myself in a spot where I was drowning, drowning in hot sauce, whatever you want to call it, but definitely feeling that, I had the weight of the world on me and not leveraging the team as well as I possibly could. And like I said, I was getting additional responsibilities a lot. And I really found myself in a position where, I potentially wasn't doing the right thing I wasn't showing up properly for myself to those moments that matter. So whether that be public presentation, whether that be an executive meeting, whether that be with my team were craving attention that I wasn't giving them. And it was just busy. And, I've always been in that sort of mode of beware of the busy boss or busy manager. I was that person. And there was a few pennies that went off to change that. But one of the learnings was that I needed to, as I built the team, it wasn't like there was an end date, because it changed for me. It was like there was an end date. I'm going back to Australia. Let's just go. And then I kept that sort of approach when I became permanent and took on additional responsibility. So I think it's really, the lesson is self-awareness. I lost sight of how to lead effectively.
Yeah. So I think what you've highlighted there is probably something that all leaders encounter at some point, is that the scope of responsibilities that's put on them is so great to a point they can't do it all themselves. Yes. And if they try, they're going to get burned out. It's just not possible. Yes. Too many teams, too many people, too many expectations. Yes. They're going to have to learn how to leverage those. So self-awareness is the first step, realizing you can't do it all yourself. I know you well enough to know there's a second step. So what did you then do once you had that self-awareness? What were some things that you tried to put in place to get a better handle of that scale and gain greater leverage?
So I sort of put it into three buckets, right? There's the focus on self. And one thing I knew I needed to do was claw back time. So I could actually stand back and assess the situation and actually just breathe and think, right? So the focus on self, there's a personal side to it, and then there's a business side to it. So really focusing on planning for those big moments that matter, showing up the way that I want to show up, showing up the way I had in, when I'd been successful in other roles. So I think clawing back time in order to really assess and plan at a really micro level. Like I'm talking planning the smallest of interactions, planning to actually make time to, if there's a relationship in the workplace that's not going as you want, taking the time to focus on those things. And I was in the mode where I was just hovering across the top and not feeling like I was doing anything properly. So that was the first thing, is focus on self. And there is a personal element to that as well, around just how you feel in your own self. I said earlier that during the beginning of the pandemic, certainly lost focus on a lot of things, and that included weight gain and all sorts of things. So not feeling the best personally. So really focusing on self from the point of view of personal side, but also carving out time to plan. And then the second bit, and this is all work in progress. I'm not pretending to sit here as the benchmark role model, but certainly focusing on team came next. And the focus on team has been really the deal breaker, where we actually acknowledged the problem, and I learnt from them that, hey, all we want is some of your time. We want to interact with you, etc. And I wasn't giving them that. So that was one thing, again, carving out time for the team. And now I actually have implemented some very specific tactical things that are starting to really pay dividends with the team, and I'm now giving them the time to enable them to lead. There's been many examples where it's kind of like, I used to do every part of that, and actually the outcomes arguably far better. So I think it really is leadership 101, but just being reminded that you just don't become complacent with where you are. Just be consistently self-aware.